Three teenage girls set out for a carefree hike in the dense forests of the Allegheny National Forest, laughing and sharing secrets like any best friends would. But they vanished without a trace, leaving behind only whispers in the wind and a community shattered by unanswered questions. For 2 agonizing years, their families clung to fading hope until a routine trail camera check revealed footage that no one expected. A park ranger lurking in the shadows, watching their every move, holding the key to a dark secret that would unravel everything. The faded photograph trembled in Marlene Hudgens's hands, the edges worn from endless nights of clutching it like a lifeline. It showed her daughter, 17-year-old Jessica Hudgens, standing between her 2 inseparable friends, 18-year-old Teresa Diggs and 17-year-old Tessa Kane. They were captured mid-laugh on the trailhead, backpacks slung over shoulders, denim shorts and tank tops, perfect for a warm July day in 2002. Jessica's curly brown hair was tied back, her green eyes sparkling with the kind of youthful invincibility that made Marlene's heart ache now. "We'll be back by dinner, Mom," Jessica had promised that morning, July 12th, with a quick hug before piling into Teresa's beat-up Ford Escort. The girls had planned a simple day hike on the Timber Creek Trail, a popular but not overly crowded path in Pennsylvania's Allegheny National Forest. It was supposed to be a celebration. Teresa had just gotten her acceptance letter to college, and they wanted one last adventure before senior year pulled them apart. Marlene had waved them off from the porch of their modest home in Warren, Pennsylvania, never imagining it would be the last time she'd see her daughter's smile. By 8 p.m. that evening, when the sun dipped below the tree line and the girls hadn't returned, Marlene's worry turned to panic. She called the Diggs and the Kanes, but no one had heard from them. The car was still parked at the trailhead lot when local police arrived, keys in the ignition, a half-eaten bag of trail mix on the dash. No signs of struggle, no notes, just an eerie silence in the gathering dusk. The Allegheny National Forest, with its 500,000 acres of thick woodland, winding rivers and hidden ravines, was a beautiful but brutal place. Trails could turn treacherous with sudden drops, and cell phones were spotty at best back then. No GPS apps or instant messaging to track movements. The girls were experienced hikers raised in the shadow of these woods, but nature didn't care about that. Or so everyone thought at first. The search began at dawn the next day, July 13th. Sheriff Harlan Reed, the lead ranger was Harlan Brooks, a stoic man in his 40s with a face carved by years of patrolling these lands. He coordinated with local law enforcement, volunteers, and search dogs. Helicopters buzzed overhead, their rotors slicing through the misty morning air, while ground teams combed the trails. "They're smart girls," Harlan told the families at the command post, a tent set up near the parking lot. "We'll find them." But days turned into weeks, and the forest gave up nothing. A discarded water bottle here, a snapped branch there, but nothing definitive. Rumors swirled in the small town. Maybe they ran away, chasing dreams beyond the trees, or worse, encountered a predator, human or animal. Marlene couldn't sleep, haunted by visions of Jessica lost and calling out. She replayed their last conversation, wishing she'd insisted they take a map or stay closer to home. The media descended, turning the disappearance into a national story. "3 teens vanish in Pennsylvania wilderness," headlines blared. Tips poured in, sightings in nearby states, anonymous calls about suspicious drifters, but they all led nowhere. By the end of summer, the official search scaled back, resources diverted to other cases. The families refused to stop. They printed flyers, held vigils, and hired private investigators who poked at every loose thread. Marlene quit her job at the local diner to dedicate herself fully, driving the trails herself, shouting the girls' names until her voice cracked. "They're out there," she'd tell anyone who listened, her eyes hollow with desperation. But as autumn leaves fell and winter snow blanketed the forest, hope dimmed like the shortening days. 2 years passed in a blur of grief and unanswered prayers. It was July 2004 when the break came, unexpected and chilling. Ranger Harlan Brooks was reviewing footage from trail cameras. basic motion-activated devices installed to monitor wildlife and deter poachers. These weren't high-tech, just grainy black and white videos triggered by movement. He was alone in his office at the ranger station, a small wooden building overlooking the forest, when he popped in a tape from a camera near a remote section of Timber Creek Trail, about 2 miles from where the girls started. The date stamp, July 12, 2002, 2:15 p.m. There they were, Jessica, Teresa, and Tessa, walking single file, chatting animatedly. Jessica pointed at something off-trail, perhaps a deer or a flower, and they laughed. Harlan leaned closer, his breath catching. The girls moved out of frame, but the camera kept rolling, triggered again minutes later. This time, no girls. Instead, a figure emerged from the underbrush. A man in a ranger uniform, hat pulled low, binoculars in hand. He scanned the trail, then followed the direction the girls had gone, moving with purposeful stealth. Harlan froze. The man on the tape was him. Or was it? The uniform matched, but something felt off. He rewound, paused, zoomed in on the grainy image. The badge number was visible, 247, his own badge. But Harlan had no memory of being there that day. He'd logged his patrol on a different trail, miles away. A cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Was this a mistake? Or had he been watching them all along? The discovery cracked open a Pandora's box. Harlan reported it to his superiors, but internally, doubt gnawed at him. Why couldn't he remember? Had he seen something he shouldn't have? The tape became the centerpiece of a renewed investigation, pulling in the FBI. Agents descended on the ranger station, questioning Harlan intensely. "What were you doing there?" they pressed. "I don't know," he admitted, his voice steady but his mind racing. The families were notified and Marlene's world tilted again. The ranger was watching them, she whispered to the agent, her voice breaking. It suggested the disappearance wasn't random, perhaps orchestrated, or at least witnessed. Speculation exploded. Was Harlan involved? A protector turned predator? Or had he seen the real culprit and blocked it out? The tape showed him lingering, then vanishing into the woods. No audio, just silent accusation. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered Harlan's past. A divorce, whispers of alcohol issues, but nothing criminal. Yet the footage was damning. They researched the area around the camera, using metal detectors and dogs trained for cadaver scent. On the third day, they found it. A shallow depression off-trail covered by years of leaves and vines. Digging revealed a body bag? No, skeletal remains, wrapped in decayed fabric. Dental records confirmed it was Teresa Diggs. Her skull showed blunt force trauma. The forest had hidden her for 2 years, just 300 yards from where the tape captured Harlan. Marlene collapsed when told, a mix of relief and horror. At least one girl found. But where were Jessica and Tessa? And what did Harlan know? The ranger, now under scrutiny, claimed innocence. "I must have been following a lead," he said. But his alibi crumbled. Logs showed discrepancies. The investigation intensified, with Harlan's home searched. They found journals, scribbled with observations of hikers, including notes on 3 girls in shorts. Creepy, but not proof. Then came the twist. A second tape from another camera, time-stamped later that day. It showed Harlan emerging from the woods alone, his uniform disheveled, glancing around before hurrying away. No girls in sight. What had happened in between? Marlene confronted him at the station, tears streaming. "You saw them. What did you do?" Harlan met her gaze, his eyes haunted. I tried to help." But his words rang hollow. The truth was buried deeper, in the ranger's fractured memory and the forest's silent witness. As the case heated up, more clues surfaced. A discarded backpack, a bloody rock. The Allegheny wasn't giving up its secrets easily, but the ranger's watch had started the unraveling. If this story has you on the edge of your seat, hit that like button and subscribe for more real mysteries that will keep you up at night. The families deserved answers, and they were coming, piece by chilling piece. Investigators pored over Harlan's logs from 2002, finding gaps, hours unaccounted for on the day the girls vanished. He claimed routine patrols, but witnesses placed him near Timber Creek. One hiker recalled seeing a ranger matching his description, arguing with someone off trail, voices raised. Sounded like a warning, the hiker said. Harlan dismissed it as a poacher encounter, but doubt lingered. Meanwhile, forensic teams examined Teresa's remains. Cause of death, head injury from a fall or blow. No defensive wounds, but fibers on her clothing matched ranger uniform material. Coincidence or contact? Marlene pushed for more, organizing press conferences. Someone knows what happened to my Jessica and Tessa, she pleaded. Tips flooded in again. One from a former colleague of Harlan's claiming he had a secret spot in the woods, a cabin for quiet time. Agents raided it, finding photos, hundreds of Polaroids of hikers, including one of the 3 girls, taken from afar. Harlan's obsession was clear. He was arrested on suspicion but denied involvement. I watch to protect, he insisted during interrogation. The forest is dangerous. But his story cracked under pressure. Flashbacks hit him, memories of following the girls after spotting them from a ridge. They had veered off trail, chasing a shortcut Teresa knew from childhood. Harlan, concerned, trailed them. He claimed he found them at a cliff edge, arguing. Teresa slipped, fell. Panic set in. He hid the body, swore the others to silence. No, that didn't fit. Jessica and Tessa were still missing. The breakthrough came from hypnosis. Harlan, desperate to remember, agreed to sessions. Under trance, he recalled the horror, the girls stumbling upon an illegal grow operation, marijuana plants hidden in a ravine. Armed growers confronted them. Harlan arrived too late, witnessed the attack. Teresa killed, the others taken. He fled, terrified, blocked it out. But why not report? They threatened me, he whispered, knew where I lived. The FBI followed the lead, raiding suspected sites. In a remote cabin, they found Jessica and Tessa, alive, but changed, held captive, forced labor, rescued after 2 years, emaciated but surviving. The growers arrested, Harlan cleared but haunted. Marlene's reunion was tearful, the girl's recovery long. The ranger had watched, but fear silenced him. Justice prevailed, but scars remained. The reunion between Marlene and her daughter Jessica was a flood of tears and trembling embraces, but the joy was laced with a raw, unspoken pain that hung heavy in the air. Jessica, now 19, stood in the dim light of the Warren Community Center, her once vibrant curls dulled and her green eyes shadowed by the 2 years she'd endured. Tessa Kane clung to her side, her 19-year-old frame thinner than memory allowed, her usual bright smile replaced by a cautious grimace. The girls had been found in that remote cabin, a crumbling shack hidden deep in the Alleghenies undergrowth, surrounded by rows of illegal marijuana plants tended by rough men with guns. The FBI raid had been swift, but the scars, both physical and unseen, ran deep. Jessica's voice cracked as she whispered to Marlene, I thought I'd never see you again. Tessa nodded silently, her hand gripping Jessica's like a lifeline. The community gathered around, a mix of relief and anger fueling whispered conversations. How had this happened under the forest's watchful eye? Harlan Brooks sat in a holding cell at the Warren County Sheriff's Office, his ranger uniform swapped for a gray jumpsuit, his face etched with a guilt that seemed to age him overnight. The hypnosis sessions had peeled back layers of his mind, revealing fragments of that fateful day. He'd followed the girls off trail, not out of malice but concern, spotting them near a cliff where Teresa had slipped. The fall had been an accident, a sickening crunch echoing as she hit the rocks below. Panic seized him as 2 men emerged from the brush, growers protecting their operation. They'd seen Harlan, recognized his badge, and turned on the girls. Teresa was dead, her body hidden in a shallow grave. Jessica and Tessa, terrified and pleading, were dragged away, their screams fading into the trees. Harlan, frozen by fear, had run, the grower's threats ringing in his ears. Tell anyone, and your family's next. He'd buried the memory, logged false patrols, and lived with the weight ever since. The FBI's evidence corroborated his story. The cabin yielded fingerprints matching known drug runners from Ohio, their operation a secret thriving in the forest's isolation. A bloody rock near Teresa's grave matched the trauma to her skull, and fibers from Harlan's uniform on her clothing proved he'd been there. Too late to save her, too scared to act. The Polaroids in his cabin, a creepy catalog of hikers, suggested a habit of watching, but no intent to harm. Prosecutors debated charges, obstruction, negligence, but the growers' arrests shifted focus. Jessica and Tessa's testimony sealed the case. They'd been forced to tend plants, fed scraps, and locked in a root cellar. Their escape attempts met with beatings. The men, led by a burly figure named Roy Kessler, faced kidnapping and murder charges. Harlan was released pending review, a broken man under house arrest, his ranger days over. Marlene struggled to process it all. The relief of having Jessica back warred with the rage at Harlan's silence. He could have saved them, she muttered to a counselor, her fists clenched. The girls, though free, were haunted. Jessica spoke of nights hearing Teresa's fall, Tessa of the cellar's damp darkness. Therapy began, a slow road to healing, but the forest loomed large in their minds. The community demanded answers, and a public hearing was scheduled. Harlan, pale and stooped, faced the families. "I failed you," he said, voice breaking. "I thought hiding it would protect you. I was wrong." The room buzzed with anger, but Jessica's soft, "It wasn't all your fault," silenced it. She saw the fear in his eyes, mirrored her own. Investigators kept digging, finding more tapes from other cameras, blurry figures moving through the woods, possibly the growers scouting. A map in Kessler's cabin marked trails including Timber Creek, hinting at a network. The Allegheny held more secrets, and the case wasn't fully closed. Marlene pushed for a memorial for Teresa, a granite marker near the trailhead, its unveiling a tearful event. Jessica and Tessa laid flowers, vowing to reclaim the forest. But whispers persisted. Had Harlan missed other signs? Was someone else watching? The girls' ordeal was over, but the wood's silence promised more to come. If this twist has you hooked, hit that like button and subscribe for the next chapter of this haunting tale. The ranger's watch had revealed a nightmare, and the forest wasn't done talking yet. The granite marker for Teresa Diggs stood solemn under the late summer sun, its etched name a quiet testament to a life cut short, surrounded by wildflowers planted by Jessica and Tessa. It was August 2004, 2 months since their rescue, and the Allegheny National Forest felt both familiar and foreign to the girls as they walked its trails again. Marlene watched from a distance, her heart a tangle of pride and fear, as Jessica's steps grew steadier and Tessa's laughter returned in small bursts. The community had rallied, raising funds for the memorial, but beneath the healing gestures, unease lingered. The growers' arrests, Roy Kessler and his crew, hadn't silenced the whispers. Locals spoke of other disappearances, older stories of hikers vanishing, their fates swallowed by the trees. Was the forest a haven or a predator's lair? The FBI's investigation expanded, tracing Kessler's network beyond Pennsylvania. Agents uncovered a ledger in the cabin, scribbled with dates and dollar amounts, linking the marijuana operation to a broader drug ring. One entry, dated July 12, 2002, noted 3 girls, problem solved, chillingly casual. Interrogations revealed Kessler's men had panicked after Teresa's death, fearing exposure. They'd taken Jessica and Tessa to ensure silence, using the forest's isolation as a shield. A seized phone yielded a photo, Jessica and Tessa tied up in the cellar, their faces bruised but defiant. The image fueled public outrage, and Kessler's trial loomed, promising justice, but no comfort for the lost years. Harlan Brooks, under house arrest, kept to himself, his cabin now a shell of old photos and regret. He'd sent a letter to Marlene, apologizing, but she hadn't opened it, the wound too fresh. Jessica and Tessa started therapy together, their bond forged in captivity unbreakable. They spoke of the cellar's cold, The grower's threats, and Teresa's final moments, her scream as she fell, cut off by silence. "We tried to go back for her," Jessica told a counselor, tears falling. "But they dragged us away." The trauma bonded them to Marlene, who became their advocate, pushing for better forest patrols. Ranger stations added more cameras, though trust in the uniform was shaky. Harlan's name was a shadow, his innocence debated. Some saw a coward, others, a man broken by fear. A retired ranger, Elias Pratt, came forward, claiming Harlan had once confided about spotting suspicious activity years ago. Unmarked trucks, odd trails, but never reported it, fearing retaliation. The revelation added layers to the mystery. Had Harlan's silence enabled a deeper evil? The trial began in October 2004, a packed courtroom in Erie buzzing with tension. Kessler, a hulking man with cold eyes, denied everything, blaming subordinates. But Jessica's testimony, steady despite trembling hands, painted a vivid picture: the cliff, Teresa's fall, the gun to her head forcing compliance. Tessa corroborated, her voice soft but firm, describing the cellar's horrors. Evidence piled up: fibers, the photo, the ledger, convicting Kessler and 2 others of murder, kidnapping, and drug trafficking. Life sentences were handed down, but the girl's relief was tempered by loss. Teresa's family, the Diggs, sat stoic, accepting a closure that felt hollow. Marlene hugged them, tears mixing, vowing to honor Teresa's memory. Yet questions remained. The forest's vastness hid more. A hiker found a rusted knife near Timber Creek, its blade stained, sparking a new search. Dogs hit on a scent, leading to a cave where bones, possibly human, were unearthed. Forensic tests were pending, but the find reignited speculation. Had other victims been claimed? Jessica and Tessa, rebuilding at home, felt the weight. They joined Marlene on weekend walks, reclaiming the trails, but every rustle made them pause. The Allegheny seemed to watch back, its secrets guarded. Harlan, cleared of direct involvement but fired, moved away, his reputation in ruins. A local paper ran a story: Rangers watch, hero or villain. The debate raged online, forums buzzing with theories. Marlene pushed for a task force to map the forest's hidden spots, determined no one else would vanish. The girls supported her, their resilience a beacon. But late at night, Jessica confessed to Tessa, "I keep seeing those men. What if they're not all caught?" The cave find loomed large, a possible link to a serial pattern. The forest wasn't done revealing its darkness, and the girl's survival story was far from over. If this mystery has you gripped, hit that like button and subscribe for the next unraveling truth. The Ranger's watch had opened a door, and what lay beyond was still unfolding. The cave's discovery sent a shiver through Warren, the small town bracing itself as forensic teams descended on the Allegheny National Forest with renewed urgency. It was late October 2004, the air crisp with falling leaves, when the initial tests confirmed the bones were human, old, possibly predating Teresa Diggs's death, but the exact timeline was murky. Jessica Hudgens, Tessa Kane, and Marlene stood at the memorial site, the granite marker now a gathering point for hope and dread. The girls clutched each other's hands, their faces pale as news spread. A second skeleton, smaller, perhaps a child, hinted at a darker history. The forest, once their playground, now felt like a graveyard whispering secrets. "We have to know," Jessica said, her voice steady but her eyes wet. Tessa nodded, her grip tightening, both driven by a need to uncover what the woods had hidden. The investigation shifted gears, pulling in anthropologists and cadaver dogs to map the cave's depths. Ranger Harlan Brooks, though gone from the force, became a reluctant consultant, his knowledge of the terrain invaluable despite his tarnished name. Under strict supervision, he guided agents to forgotten trails, his voice low as he recalled odd sightings, flickers of movement, abandoned camps. "I should have pushed harder," he muttered, the weight of his past silence crushing him. The cave yielded more: a rusted buckle, a shred of fabric, items too degraded for quick identification, but enough to suggest multiple victims. The FBI linked it to missing persons reports stretching back a decade, names long faded from public memory. A pattern emerged: hikers, mostly solo, vanishing without trace, their cases cold until now. Marlene rallied the community, organizing a task force with local volunteers and retired rangers, including Elias Pratt, who shared Harlan's old notes. They combed records, finding a 1995 case of a 14-year-old boy, Jonah Leeds, last seen near Timber Creek. His mother, now elderly, wept when shown the cave's location, a flicker of recognition in her eyes. "He loved those woods," she said, her voice breaking. The buckle matched a belt he'd worn, a heartbreaking clue. Jessica and Tessa joined the effort, their resilience inspiring others. They mapped trails with GPS units, marking spots Harlan flagged as suspicious. One evening, Tessa stumbled on a hollow under a fallen log, revealing a cache of old cans and a knife, evidence of someone living off-grid. The find fueled speculation. A serial offender using the forest as a hunting ground? The trial's aftermath saw Kessler's crew appeal, but new evidence, the cave, the knife, strengthened the prosecution. A jailed accomplice, under pressure, confessed to disposing of bodies, naming a partner still at large. The FBI launched a manhunt, releasing sketches based on his description: a lean man, mid-40s, with a scar across his cheek. Tips poured in, one from a gas station clerk who'd seen him near Warren in 2002, buying supplies days before the girls vanished. The connection tightened. Had he been watching, waiting? Jessica's memory stirred. She recalled a figure in the distance that day, dismissed as a hiker. Could it be him? She asked Tessa, fear creeping back. Harlan's hypnosis tapes were re-examined, revealing a buried detail. A man's voice, rough and threatening, during the growers' confrontation. "Get rid of them," it ordered, matching the accomplice's description. Harlan's flashback, seeing the scarred man drag Jessica and Tessa away, corroborated it. He broke down, admitting he'd glimpsed the face but fled, the threat paralyzing him. The FBI intensified the search, setting traps along old trails. In early November, a hunter's tip led to a rundown shack miles from the cave. Inside, they found the scarred man, Gerald Coleman, a drifter with a rap sheet for poaching and assault. Blood evidence tied him to the cave, and a journal listed dates, including July 2002, with a note: 3 girls, handled. He'd worked with Kessler, disposing of Teresa and aiding the kidnapping. Coleman's arrest brought closure to Jonah's case and others, but Jessica and Tessa wrestled with survivor's guilt. Marlene pushed for a forest preservation law, ensuring patrols and cameras. The girls laid a second marker for unknown victims, their healing tied to the land. Yet, late-night rustles still haunted them. Had all the shadows been caught? The Allegheny secrets weren't fully told. If this revelation keeps you on edge, hit that like button and subscribe for the next piece of this gripping saga. The Rangers' watch had uncovered a predator, but the forest held more to reveal. The arrest of Gerald Coleman sent a ripple of relief through Warren, but the Allegheny National Forest remained a place of quiet tension, its towering trees holding on to secrets as the winter of 2004 settled in. Jessica Hudgens, Tessa Kane, and Marlene stood outside the courthouse on a frigid December day, watching Coleman, scarred cheek and cold eyes, shuffled into a van, his trial set for the new year. The evidence was damning. DNA from the cave bones matched missing persons like Jonah Leeds, and Coleman's journal detailed his role with Kessler's crew, including Teresa Diggs's death and the girls' captivity. Yet, the victory felt incomplete. Jessica's hand trembled as she squeezed Tessa's, the weight of survival mixing with the loss of their friend. "It's over, right?" Tessa whispered, but the forest's rustling leaves seemed to disagree. The trial began in January 2005, a packed room hanging on every word. Coleman, defiant at first, crumbled under Jessica's testimony, Her recounting of the cellar, the threats, the moment Teresa fell. Tessa's voice joined, steady despite tears, describing the scarred man's sneer as he locked them away. Forensic evidence sealed it. The knife from the log cache had Coleman's prints, and fibers from his jacket matched those on Teresa's remains. The jury deliberated 2 days, returning with guilty verdicts: murder, kidnapping, drug trafficking. Life without parole was the sentence, Kessler's crew facing the same. The courtroom erupted, Marlene hugging the girls as cameras flashed, but her smile faded when she saw Harlan Brooks in the back, head bowed. He'd testified, his memory of that day now clear, and the judge ruled no charges, citing his fear-driven inaction as human, not criminal. Still, the town shunned him. Marlene channeled her energy into the forest preservation law, passed in spring 2005, mandating increased patrols and cameras across Allegheny trails. Jessica and Tessa, now 19, became its faces, speaking at town halls about their ordeal to push for safety. They returned to the trails, planting trees near Teresa's marker, each sapling a step toward reclaiming their past. The cave was sealed, a grim monument, but new searches found no more bodies. Yet the possibility lingered. A hiker reported a strange symbol carved into a tree, sparking rumors of other hideouts. The FBI kept a task force, but leads dwindled. Jonah's mother visited the memorial, leaving a photo of him, her closure bittersweet. The girl's healing progressed, therapy unraveling the trauma. Jessica enrolled in community college, studying environmental science to protect wild places, while Tessa took up art, painting the forest's beauty and shadows. Marlene opened a support group for families of the missing, her diner job replaced by a mission. Late nights, though, brought doubts. Jessica dreamt of a figure watching. Tessa heard footsteps. The forest's vastness mocked their peace. Harlan, living quietly outside town, sent a letter to Jessica, apologizing again. She read it this time, torn but forgiving. "He's not the monster," she told Tessa. "The real ones are locked up." A final twist came in June 2005 when a ranger found a buried box near the cave, its contents chilling. Old IDs, a locket, items from 5 missing hikers since the 90s. Coleman's journal hinted at a mentor, a name scratched out, suggesting a bigger network. The FBI reopened cold cases, but the trail was cold. Jessica and Tessa laid a plaque for the unknowns, their resolve strengthening. The Allegheny, with its new patrols, grew safer, but its history stayed alive in whispers. Marlene's group expanded, finding peace in shared stories, while the girls planned a documentary to honor Teresa and the lost.